Hello and thanks for joining us from our studios in Israel. I'm Aaron Porras, here with ILTV's morning briefing. Nearly 250,000 attendees from near and far have just made this year's Tel Aviv Pride Parade a truly historic celebration. This was the city's 20th Pride Parade, too. What started off as a modest gathering for LGBTQ rights years ago has since exploded into the Middle East's single largest festivity for gay equality and free expression. After all, love is love. This year's record-high numbers made Friday quite the party, too. Things kicked off with a massive parade through Tel Aviv, culminating in an all-out party on the beach. For as far as the eye could see, there were rainbow flags, colorful costumes, wild banners, and even wilder activities. But one of the day's highlights was undoubtedly a show from Israeli superstar Netta Barzilai herself, mere weeks after clinching the Eurovision title. Over the past several decades, the city of Tel Aviv has blossomed into a beacon of LGBTQ freedom in a part of the world where such freedom is still quite scarce. Strict religious nationalism in Muslim-majority Arab nations, and sometimes even in Israel's own ultra-Orthodox communities, sometimes turns even the topic of homosexuality into a taboo. But this weekend's massive gathering is proof that love in all its forms is the only thing that'll bring us together. Thousands of foreigners flew in just to be in Tel Aviv when the party got started, a day where Jews, Muslims, and Christians all stood proudly, shoulder to shoulder. As hundreds of thousands flocked to Israel for the Pride Parade, Prime Minister Netanyahu was abroad, finishing up the last leg of a European tour where he spoke with world leaders about Iran, Gaza, and more. But it's who he didn't meet with that is now making headlines. In a surprising move, Netanyahu reportedly canceled a meeting with EU Foreign Policy Chief Federica Mogherini, citing alleged scheduling problems. Seemingly slighted by the cancellation, Mogherini has now responded by canceling her upcoming visit to Israel. She was scheduled to speak at the American Jewish Committee's Global Forum meeting in Jerusalem Monday. Her spokesperson also cited, quote, agenda reasons for the abrupt cancellation. The spokesperson went on to add, however, that Mogherini was looking forward to returning to the region in the near future, as there are, quote, many important issues in the region to discuss, including Iran. She and Netanyahu last met in Brussels in December during the EU foreign ministers meeting, but they've often been at odds, as Mogherini has long been vocally critical of certain Israeli policies, including settlement activity in the West Bank and Israel's use of force on the Gaza border. Israeli soldiers in the West Bank this morning fired upon a car that was speeding towards them. According to security forces, the car accelerated in their direction while soldiers were carrying out an operation near Tulkarem. The shots were warning shots aimed at the car but not the suspects, who then brought the car to a halt. There were no reported injuries, and the suspects have been arrested for questioning. In another incident this morning near northern Jerusalem, Israeli police stopped a car and arrested the two Palestinians inside, who were caught with a large butcher's knife hidden under the driver's seat. Security forces were first alerted to the suspects when they drove suspiciously and against traffic. According to the Jewish Chronicle, London police have just announced that they will not stop anyone flying Hezbollah flags during an upcoming Al-Quds Day march through downtown. This is because British Parliament only designates Hezbollah's military wing as a terrorist organization, separate from the political wing, and so the flag will be allowed to fly. London's Metro Police Commander Jane Connors said that she understands the concerns, but that, quote, being a member or supporter of the wider non-prescribed organization is lawful, end quote. But Parliament member Louise Ellman, who is also the vice chair of the Labour Friends of Israel, said, quote, we must remove this false and ludicrous distinction between Hezbollah's political and military wings from the UK, and that, quote, if we see the machine gun-adorned flag of an anti-Semitic terror group on London's streets again this June, it will be due to the inaction of the government. They must act now, end quote. Meanwhile, as the UK deliberates whether Hezbollah is a terror group or not, Israel is appealing to the United Nations to intervene in southern Lebanon. According to intelligence that was sent to the United Nations, Hezbollah and Hamas have partnered up for a deal in which Hezbollah establishes missile factories and trains thousands of Hamas soldiers. The Israeli Foreign Ministry confirmed that the issue was raised regularly at the United Nations, and Israel argues that these actions are in violation of the 2006 ceasefire agreement between Israel and Lebanon, and that, quote, Israel will not stand idly in the face of new and old threats that face it, end quote. In other security-related news, according to the I.D.F spokesperson's unit, the Israeli Defense Forces have just called upon thousands of reserve duty soldiers to come to the Golan Heights for a surprise exercise. Reportedly, explosions, live fire, and the rise in number of military vehicles will last several days throughout the drill. This also comes just a few days after the conclusion of an enormous Israeli Air Force drill. That exercise was designed to simulate a potential war in the south and the north simultaneously, and comes after months of rising tensions and violence along the borders. That being said, the IDF stresses that the sounds shouldn't scare anyone. The spokesperson's unit statement reassures that the drill was planned long in advance and has nothing to do with any conflict. That's all for now. I'm Aaron Porras, and see you later with our main daily broadcast from Israel at 2 p.m. Eastern Time.